And welcome to everybody. Very nice to have you here. I know that everybody's program is super busy these days, so we really appreciate you taking the time to come and listen to what we have to say to you. I hope you'll find it interesting. We do. It's our life. I also, just before beginning, I just want to mention that we have a lot of people here and everybody has something really very exciting to say, so I have to really be super disciplined to manage everybody's time. So I'm asking all of you guys again also, please kind of keep things short and sweet, and thank you in advance for that. So I should do the same. So anyway, joint idea. We're talking about thriving with your tribe. We're all here as part of a mobile conference, obviously, so technology is on the forefront of everybody's brain. Where is it going? What's going to happen to us? So on and so forth. And the whole point of this session is obviously dedicated to that, is the House of Beautiful Business. There's one school of thought that says that we can't actually be closer to more than 150 people. We can't have close interpersonal relationships with more than 150. Why? Because human relationships are complicated. So to be able to anticipate people's thoughts and their behaviors and their movements is something that automatically gives us a sense of human scale. So what do we do? Joint idea is a number of different things. It started off as a co-working space before we even realized that there was a co-working sector. So different people working together with a common mission in the same building, brought together by their personal bonds and their connections and ultimately their own reference, which has evolved from being a place to actually work to a place, like Tim mentioned, you know, when we're bored of our work or we need a break, you go downstairs, you pick up a guitar, somebody else picks up the drums, and you have a jam session in the middle of the day, and all of a sudden, life is just a bit better. And we have a gallery, so we have artists that are spending time with us, so we learn how artists think, and you know, there's always something interesting to learn from, obviously, all disciplines, but especially artists and real creativity. We have well-being integrated as a part of living, so we have regular meditation sessions, yoga sessions, breathing sessions, and lots of different things taking place on that all the time, which again is part of our daily routine. This is not something that we just do once a month for fun. This is how we live and how we work on a regular basis. We've now started moving into the direction of actually feeling that we know what we're doing a little bit, and we're trying to actually bring this onto a global stage where we can go into corporations and actually give, you know, some clues as to how we might combine future ways of working through co-working, co-creation, together with incremental learning as an ongoing way of working every day. So work, co-create, and learn in real time. And by constantly, every day, expanding our awareness about different disciplines, we have the chance actually to learn more about each other, to appreciate each other's viewpoints, and have better quality relationships with each other. And actually, as a result of that, become naturally collaborative and naturally co-creative. That this brings out the entrepreneur in everybody. We've kind of grown to this point with a frequency, you know, a very natural human frequency that vibrates with our heart and with love more than anything else. Of course, the intent is to create profitable businesses like everybody's looking to do, but doing it in a way that it's not money first, it's heart and humanity first. So this tribe of wonderful people that we have around us has actually nearly spontaneously created itself, and we believe in this concept which we call cultivated serendipity, which is serendipity being at the right place at the right time. How do you actually make that happen in a bit more of a predictable way? That's kind of the effort that we're trying to put forward here. And I think that the realm of, or the team of people that we have is a living example of how that actually can happen, and how everybody, whether it's being approached through music or business or virtual reality, can come to the same point of our human connectedness through their own disciplines. And at the end, we have a full orchestra of sound that comes from these various voices. So our first guest on our talk show today will be Ayşe, who is the managing partner of Odgers Berndsen in Istanbul. Work has actually become the single leading source of unhappiness in the world. Ayşe, in your experience looking at the world of the corporations where money is still held, and you know, the way that the future will be shaped is largely dependent on how that money is spent, and what do you think are the major challenges moving forward, and what's holding back change in companies, and where do you think are the bottlenecks, and is there any hope out of this?
Well, first of all, of course, we have to emphasize the sustainability, actually. Sustainability of talent, actually, in the corporate world. We don't have ready solutions, obviously. We have been, in my work with more than 25 years with international organizations, we've been helping them to transform, but there is no ready solution. So it's not a one-size-fits-all formula. And so we are working on the solution where we are assessing the unique talent, the unique strengths, how we can help the talent become more aware, and then how we can help them gain more critical experience and really sort of make progress through the transformation process and be the change, be part of the solution. Basically, there is no real ready solution, and we don't have ready answers. But we're constantly really like the jam sessions. It's really very much like really bringing in the talent and how can we make them part of the solution, and really how can we make the larger organizations even provide a space where their talent can experience to really work on a solution, which is organizational transformation, basically. All of our research really indicates that we start from the top. We start from the boards, we start from the shareholders, we really start to make sure that they really understand going ahead, yes, if they have a financial problem, if they have a sort of innovation problem, it's a people-centered problem. So they have to start from looking at themselves and working with their critical talent, and then spread it throughout the organization.
So kind of building on the ideas of Aisha, where did this all start to go wrong? How do we get into this kind of headspace where we haven't really been able to kind of understand our relationship with the world and with our organizations? In thinking through that, we came across these two gentlemen sitting beside me here, and as Ceren was mentioning, Semi, your view of dreams and the idea of dreaming being something that's actually rather important in our life that we very poorly understand. What are your views on that you could share with us, and how we can go tap into those dreams to learn more about ourselves?
Sure. I'll be talking based on data because I have been doing this for the past 4 years, traveling across the nation in Turkey, going to universities, high schools, corporates, women, and I just do something very simple. I get up, I have a stage, and I give the microphone to the person who wants to talk about their dreams for 1 minute. So what happens is, people come and talk about their dreams for 1 minute. These are youngsters, all right? And I was astonished to see that like 60% tell me they don't have a dream. And then we did a research, and we came out with the fact that 98% of our imagination capacity, which we have between the ages 3 and 6, we lose to 2% in college year 1. So with that 2%, the corporates come and knock our door, and we have to choose between the corporate life or our own business. And when the corporate comes and knocks their door, or they have to do what they have to do in terms of their ambitions as people who want to build a business, then we see that they lose to the perception manipulation through soft power, which the brands do. So actually, they're not chasing their dreams or their ambitions. They're losing their values to the corporates, and at the same time, if they want to do their own business, they're losing themselves to the desires which are being superimposed on them. And is there a way out? Of course, we have to go back to that 98%. How do we do that? We have to dream. We have to make time to dream. So we have to go back to that 98% and listen to our soul, which is actually calling upon us through our imagination capacity.
It's amazing how many things that we take for granted in our so-called evolved adult brains that we feel we know and we're certain of. But many of these things, in fact, are fallacies. We don't really know too much, in fact. And this whole path really kind of goes back to the way we were brought up and the kind of cues that we've taken from all the people that have been around us, educating us and maybe miseducating us the whole way. And Özgür, you have a lot of interesting views on that, I believe, that actually can show us, by going backwards, how can we go forward? And what are some of the elements maybe that you think in your line of work and in your perspective that can be helpful for us as we look to reshape ourselves for the future?
So every person is born like this. They are whole, right? When you're born, you're whole. You're accepted as you are by your parents, right? Then when you're 2 or 3 years old, your parents consciously or unconsciously tells you, I love you when you tidy up your room. I love you when you eat. I love you when you get a good grade. And the child says, my job is to make my mom happy. So he starts to live for other people. So when this happens, the self is damaged, okay? This is the self, that you lose your wholeness, okay? So you feel worthless. This is worthlessness, okay? So you can't live like this. Either you committed suicide or you are depressive. So how do you fill this hole? Achievement, right? Power, money, status, what else? Pride. Pride, yes. Pride, you fill this. So do they work? Yes, but what is the problem? The problem is they work, but you cannot sustain it. I call these people externally validated people. So they have to be validated externally all the time. If you are whole, and they are internally validated people. When do people get angry? Threatened. When they feel blocked. Okay? When they feel blocked. But these people feel blocked whenever they can't get this. And if you are internally validated, you will never be angry. You will be only angry if you are internally validated when your value is threatened. Our governance needs to change. Our schooling system needs to change. Our parenting system needs to change. We have to move from external validation to internal validation. It's only then can we be happy and our humanity can rise.
We were talking about issues of balance and value systems, and bearing that in mind, there are a number of countries, especially around the Mediterranean. So, Ejmil, I'm switching my attention to you now. You know, despite the fact that Greece is up in flames and everybody's always questioning Italy, and of course we can say Turkey. I mean, God knows what's going on there these days. We'll go back and see, I suppose, when we're finished here. But these are environments where people love to go on holiday. They love to travel there. They love the dolce vita. There's lots of things that are actually really very, very enduring and human about these cultures. And you've come up with an interesting typology, perhaps, or a kind of model that is related to this, that from the Mediterranean business mindset, how we can actually find a new narrative, perhaps, that takes us forward through this period.
When you look at the history, it's always been the cradle of civilization and wealth, and it's quite a resilient culture. So I just try to find some elements which would describe this and draw some lessons out of that, and I came up with a few elements to describe some factors. One of those is surrationality. This is how I called it, actually. Our achievement culture is based on collecting data, turn it to information, and then draw some knowledge out of that, so that we can come up with a solution to any problem we have in hand. When we achieved all those things, we surpassed a paradigm. We surpassed from a simple and slow-moving world into a chaotic one. The success factors of organizations also have changed. We needed to have scale, division of labor, control. Those were the factors which led to success for organizations in the 20th century. But today, in this chaotic world, we have new ones like speed, flexibility, innovation, integration, and these kind of things. So how do we achieve, create and sustain an organization which is fast, flexible, integrated, and innovative? That's the question. All of us, all the companies, all the professionals, all the entrepreneurs, then we have the data, we have the methods, and we use the same methods, the same data, I mean big data as well. So how the hell shall we differentiate ourselves from the others then? You have at one edge the rational way of deciding and acting based on these calculations, and on the other hand, you have the irrational one, based on gut feelings only. So we need to find a way to create a collective intuition. And this is a surrational model. Not rational, not irrational, but beyond that, it's a surrational model. So to create a collective intuition, what you need really is a tribe, not a company. Okay. So within this tribe, you need to find people first to attract them, to assess them, have them on board, yes. But as an individual also, you need to find your purpose first, to have a job, a work, which gives you passion and which gives you joy.
A lot of the things that you spoke about, this kind of idea of both purpose and kind of going beyond, possibly you didn't use the word, but job descriptions and things to do within work, and actually find a voice within that might be, employed in a number of different ways, actually, a number of different hats. And I think that we're starting to move into a world where actually the idea of a specific job is no longer going to be the way to actually talk about work. It's going to be about finding something that you're passionate about, which may continue to change and evolve over the course of your lifetime. And why not? I mean, why do the same thing forever? I mean, that's no fun for anybody, I don't think. And we have a living example of somebody, Jeren, who actually really kind of epitomizes all of these different qualities that you spoke about. And Jeren, I would like you to share some of your experiences that you've had working in a number of different environments, different continents, different businesses, different settings, armed with not necessarily specific technical skills to apply. Of course, you have those as well, but you're armed with yourself. And,
Yes.
you can move into a situation where, the power from yourself is actually what seals deals and makes things happen.
So change has been the only constant in my life. So when I look at the world today, and we're at the verge of this digital revolution, and the information is doubling every, knowledge is doubling every 12 months, and in the future Bill Gates says it will going to double every 12 hours, we're facing a threat of change, and that creates a lot of fear within us. Humanity has been here for 200,000 years. So actually this is not the first time that we're coming across such radical change. But we humans always survived when we face change. So I think we have to look into ourselves and look at our ancestors and see what made them survive in those times of radical change. How? Well, through communication, through language, right? We are amazing connectors. But I don't call myself this or that. I don't label myself this or that. I just know that I'm simply a human, like any of you out here. I'm a human. And as a human, if we limit ourselves to a certain sector, if we limit ourselves to a certain geography, a certain gender, to a certain race, we're actually not exploring the potential that we have inside of us. The way it comes out and the way it turns into success is when you actually connect it to other people and build teams. So whichever project you want to do, whichever project you have in mind, if you create the right team, and if you create the trust around that concept of collaboration, then you will turn your team from just task doers into creative collaborators. When I look into the past again, I see how humanity also became more evolved as they moved into new territories. And today we have a new beautiful territory to explore, for instance, maybe it's not geographical, but it's virtual. We have virtual reality. It's a new space, infinite space that we can actually venture ourselves into.
We move into a world which we're starting to transcend borders and realizing that, companies, and it's an issue again of scale, companies have reached the point where they're too large. Countries have reached the point where the values are we feel disconnected from them. And we have another chance now these days when we're creating, and you're creating actually virtual realities, new types of realities. And what are the types of things you think about when you're creating these spaces? How does our humanity flow into that world?
This is a complex moment. This is a moment where we are inundated with information, where we are confronting difference at every turn because our world has shrunk into the size of a .com, as people used to say. So how do we grapple with that? How do we actually do these things in this circumstance? Well, human beings are remarkably resilient and creative. Every single one of you are. I want to invite us to recognize that just as we learn to use a pencil to do this magical thing called writing words, and that was to cast a spell, like to actually make words, was magic once upon a time. Only the most knowledgeable could do that thing. They could write words. And we're encountering that again today. It's just we're using a new tool. This time it's not the ability to write, it's the ability to craft a virtual reality, to create machine intelligence. And yes, these are new tools and we must think deeply about them. But at the end of the day, they have the capacity, if we wield them effectively, to help us accomplish everything that everyone here has discussed. What I ask when I encounter virtual reality, I see the Wild West. I see a brand new frontier, as Jenan said, for exploration, for embodiment, for discovery. That is why people call virtual reality an empathy machine. Because in virtual reality, you have access to an entirely new frame of reference. These digital systems create the capacity for connection, for tribe, for working in entirely new ways. We are facing very complex challenges today. We cannot solve our challenges with the same mechanisms. We have to think in new ways, and luckily we always do. That's what is naturally human to us. That is how we are, our fundamental capacity for creativity. So I would like to invite all of you to give some of your most precious resource in life, your attention, to new technologies and their ability to help you be more fully human.
One of the issues, in my personal view, is that one of the biggest challenges and problems that we have is that we perceive the world too much through our eyes. 80% of what we actually observe around us, this is what fuels our version of reality. It's too much, in my opinion, through our eyes. Maybe I say that because I've had a lifelong love affair with music. But having started kind of understanding how frequencies work and vibrations work, and we're talking about, vibe makes you, with your vibe, you attract your tribe, rather, sorry. How frequencies and how the things that we don't actually see, how our ears, how our other senses actually have been almost sidelined in our quest over this past industrial period, over the past 100 years or so. Perhaps you'd like to outline the story a little bit more from that perspective about frequency.
Yeah. Talking about vibration, everything is vibration. Every thought, even the organs, inside, they are called organs. Everything is vibration, intention is a vibration. I think main trick for us to forget was this great propaganda, which is called cogito ergo sum, which means I think, therefore I exist. But it's actually opposite, yes. I exist, therefore I think. To be creative, we have to take care of those 2 points, yes? So first of all, getting inspired, which means devote your life with a simple decision that I want to serve life, I want to be guided by higher consciousness, and this is all this spirituality, which is a decision. And here is acceptance. Whatever happens here is good for me, is good for life, I trust. To be creative, you need to have a strong soul. What the soul, we don't exactly need, but I know that food for the soul is love. How to become creative? Make sure your soul has food to eat, which is love, and find any way to raise amount of love in your system, in your body, This is very important. I just found out research studies that 80% of heart attacks is happening to people right before going to work. Right before they are leaving to work, final shave, they have a heart attack, just because we don't love what we are doing. We don't love. That's why this name of the work lab, I think in the future there will be no work. If you love what you're doing, you're not working.
To the end of our time here, actually, but I would like to invite Edda, perhaps, to join me here to kind of wrap up the session, and thank you all for being here.
Well, change. I think I want to talk a little about change, which we talked all together today. It's inevitable, and in my case, I think it's necessary. We all need to change, and the change has to start with us individually. And we all have a fingerprint that's different and unique to all of us. And to thrive in the coming future, we have to find what differentiates us individually from each other. What is it that we are here for? What is that intuitive thing that we are here to create or to be creative, like you said? And LifeWorks Labs for me is that path, kind of an exploration. It's a laboratory. We're not claiming to know anything. We're saying, come, let's find means to make life more meaningful and more engaging for all of us. And in the meantime, especially in my country, I don't know, I'm sure in your countries as well, people just start working, and at 60, they think that, okay, this is when the life starts. But, there's a huge gap in between where you work and then you go back to your life, which is after 6 p.m. So if there is any way that we can find that our work is our life and there's no differentiation and we enjoy what we do and we're creative as it is, then that's a path worth exploring, I believe, and we are on that path together.
Yes, our path is really moving from the kind of mindset of our work life to pursuing our life's work. And there's a huge difference between those two words, depending on how you put them together. And I think that all of us had some unique angle to bring into that, and our life is actually an ongoing experiment to find more people with more narratives and more interesting stories to share with us that we can grow better together.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.